I'm addressing everyone here. So if you write something, give it only to me, and stop writing any other things about anything else here. Okay, I hope you will extend that kind of politeness. Now, when you look at your RC problem like this thing here, I hope you already, after our first session, you realize this doesn't look so intimidating anymore. There's no need to get intimidated by it, right? But the method still has to be followed. So perhaps we'll be a little quicker than we were last time. Okay. What is the method? The method is, and now that I have this here for you, we try to summarize and anticipate, summarize, anticipate, summarize, anticipate, because that for us is comprehension. If you can anticipate, you are able to comprehend. If you are not able to anticipate, read it again. How many times should I read? I don't answer that for you. You answer that for yourself by seeing how many times you actually need to read it. Okay. Also, as we saw the other day, where does the soul of your passage reside? Where does the soul of the passage reside? Rahul, bad question. Don't write anything to me about anything apart from the lecture. After this, I will stop. After that, I'll disable the chat, and you're doing something that's an injustice to the others, because then I can't look at anybody. Okay, please. Yes. First of all, in the first and last paragraph, the first paragraph and the last paragraph are places where you get a lot. Okay. Within a paragraph, where does its soul lie? Within a paragraph, where does the soul lie? In the first line and the last line. Right? So as when you talk about the passage, its soul kind of lies in the first paragraph and the last paragraph. If I now have to become even more discreet, if I want to read even less, you know what? I can look at the first line. It will introduce the topic to me. I can perhaps look at the last line. It will conclude it to me. The least amount of effort and the most inputs. Let me just check. But have I copied this thing correctly? Have I missed anything here when I've copied this from here? I've copied it correctly, right? From there. Have I missed anything? Copied correctly? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and see what's here. Before we proceed, let me remind you, I know nothing about history. To me, 1950s and 1990s and 2019, they're all the same kind of history to me. But that doesn't hurt me, because it's RC, because it's LSAT. External information is a pain. External information is a burden. Okay. Any difficult word, I ignore. So let me first see the first line and the last line. The late 1950s and the early 60s were a time of profound growth for the civil rights movement in the United States. Okay, civil rights. Let's look at the last line. The Freedom Riders, I think it's a spelling mistake. The Freedom Riders or the Rides, I don't know. I'm not supposed to judge so much, but I don't think there would be a spelling mistake in LSAT. Anyway, the Freedom Rides thus helped take the civil rights movement to a new level by underscoring the US government and to US society generally. Let me not, sorry, that's a bad thing to do for you guys. You're also reading. Let me use the pointer instead. So the Freedom Rights thus helped take the civil rights movement to a new level by underscoring the government and to US society generally the harsh realities of the segregation system, and by providing for students and their elders alike examples of methods that they might use to achieve a more equal society. Did you understand as to what this passage is about immediately? It's so simple. We know already by reading just the first line and the last line that in the 1950s and 60s there was a civil rights movement. Okay. There were some people who were perhaps the free rides, whatever they are. Okay. And they took the civil rights movement to a new level. Okay. And it underscored the US government. Okay. And the harsh realities of segregation system, and it provided examples of what they can do to achieve a more equal society. So we have a good idea of what's happening here. Do we go for this now paragraph by paragraph? Because that's the right way to do it next. Since we have an idea, let's go for it paragraph by paragraph. So let me first copy this here. This is the first paragraph. And this is our second paragraph. Let us see if we are in a position to anticipate the second paragraph after reading the first paragraph. And as we enhance this ability, we get better at reading comprehension. Okay. The early 50s and 60s were a time of profound growth. If you don't know the meaning of profound, it doesn't matter. You see, in most cases, you can just replace that by just remove it. Okay. Whether you know that profound refers to something that's large growth or small growth, it doesn't matter. You can just remove it. You will realize from the context later on, right? Suppose you see later into the passage that there was very little change, very superficial change, very minute changes. Then you get the meaning of what profound is. If you realize that, oh, it kind of was something that deeply impacted the society, it does something else. Okay. Ishita, don't talk about YouTube and these things, please. I've requested you so many times. Not now, after the session. So you realize that all of this here does not matter. I know you know the meaning of the word profound, but you might have a word in the exam that you don't know. And this is for that, right? So you don't need to know the meaning of anything that looks difficult. Let's ignore this. It says thereafter, although racial segregation in the public schools had been outlawed in 1954, the ruling applied only to this one category of discriminatory practice in the US society. Have you been able to understand this statement? It talks about this one. What is that this one it is talking about? What is that this one? Exactly. Nandini, good. Niranjana, good. Write your answers to all attendees. Don't write it only to me. You see, what we understand from this one is that, and after every line, try to think about it. It talks about civil rights movement. It says there is only one category of discriminatory practice. When I see that only to this category of discriminatory practice, what that tells you is that discriminatory practices have various categories, right? If I say what I'm saying now applies only to logical reasoning, you realize, oh, there must be something apart from logical reasoning happening in here. Likewise, if I say that this applies only to one category of discriminatory practices, it means there must be more. And it also tells you that one of these is racial discrimination. When I have read this much, when I go to the next line, then I know it will either talk more about this, or it will talk about, you know what, but these were left unaddressed. Something like that is going to happen. You guys understand how each line introduces the next line to you when you're reading a good passage, right? Let's go ahead. But, when it says but, it means that it's going to kind of play the devil's advocate here. And that is something that's very typical of the passages that you have here, because you need to have some kind of disharmony within the passage for it to give you some succulent questions thereafter, right? So, but it furthered within the African American community the anticipation of broader changes. It's complementing it. You see, it's complementing it. You see, what it said here is, I thought it was going to say that, you know what, the civil rights movement was bad. It only did this. But what it is saying is that when you addressed this, it furthered the anticipation of other changes as well. That means this helped these as well. So it started off initially as applying to only one thing, but then it eventually became broader. So you see, this is what anticipation is. I was looking at it like, but it turns out, oh, wow, was my anticipation wrong? Yes, but it was anticipation nonetheless. And this change of mood that happens as I read it, the feedback that I get from it is engagement with the passage. You need to be able to be in a position throughout your reading of the passage whereby you're able to engage with the passage. So practice this with yourselves. You need to, that's why you need to cultivate some kind of excitement for this. Okay. If you can cultivate some amount of something pleasant, a pleasant emotion with this thing that you associate with this process, it will help you out. Okay. Right. It was in this climate that the student sit-in demonstrations of the early 1960s were born. Okay. The technique was simple. African Americans occupying whites only seats in racially segregated establishments. But this new type of student activism galvanized. I don't know the meaning of galvanized. Let's just ignore it. I mean, I know the meaning, but I'm saying you don't need to know the meaning. But this new type of student activism galvanized established civil rights organizations, brought about the creation of new ones, and generated support for the civil rights movement among many new segments of the populace. You see what happened here? In this passage, the first two, the first, second, and third sentence were very sweet little short sentences. And here we've got our long sentence. Agree? You guys realize this? This is the first place you're kind of challenged. Agree? You now need to not shy away from this because this is the first passage and we are practicing right now. We're not solving the question where, we take 50% and go ahead. So I will spend some time on this because we need to break this down for us to be sure that we've comprehended it. Okay. So it was in this climate that the student sit-in demonstrations were born. Fourth sentence also very small. From here begins our next point. You see this thing between the two hyphens here, right? Thing between the hyphen here and the hyphen here. What do we have between these two hyphens? What is it telling you? What is it telling you? The thing between the two hyphens? Exactly, it is telling you the technique. So the technique is being described here. The technique was simple. Ta, 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 ta. So you know the technique in between here. For the time being, if I want to understand this, what I'll do is I'll eliminate some part so that it becomes easier when I have to read it to get the main point of the sentence. Let me just erase this part here. It talks about, here it says, the student technique of the sit-in was simple, but this new type of student activism galvanized this thing, comma, brought about new ones, comma, and generated. So what it is telling you is, and now to understand the structure of this. Yes, the other day, if you remember, when we were looking at RC, I told you that when you find something between two commas, you can strike it out. Remember? You guys remember I told you if you see something between two commas, you can strike it out. So let's look at something here. There is a comma here and there's a comma here. Can I strike it out? Can I strike it out? I can, but in a very different way. See, every data is valid. Second thing, please write to everybody. Don't write only to me. That's not healthy in the way that we are conducting this class. When you write anything, write to all attendees. Don't write only to panelists, please. You see, no data is useless, but we need to understand the setup for different things. There are two ways in which commas can be used. Calm down. Calm down. There are two ways in which commas can be used, and I need you to understand this pattern. The first is you say Ankit, who is 30 years old and plays cricket, eats puri, aloo, something else, and sweets, for example. Okay. Now, there's a difference between the commas that you see here. You see, if I had written, say, a few more things, and then I'd written, and also ice cream. You see, aloo is also between ice cream, is between commas. This is also between commas. Okay. This one here is playing what we understand as a qualifier. I think it's called in grammar an adjective clause. It describes something more. Okay, it's telling you as to what that thing is. Whereas here, the comma is in the nature of giving you a list that I add this, 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 and this. Both of these add more details, Chakra. Of course, if you write something more, it will add more details. Of course, if I write something, it will add more details. But what is the nature of the addition of details? In one, it is qualifying this person here. So we remove it in one way. Like, for example, what you have in between these two hyphens here is a qualification. It's describing that thing to you. The other is giving you a list. Now, what I want to ask you here is that in terms of your understanding the structure, let me say this is the first kind of usage of commas. This is the second kind of usage of commas. In here, do you find the first one or the second one? Good. It is the second one. Therefore, when we are looking at the structure of this, right, and when you want to eliminate something, you should be mindful of the structure so that you know what you've eliminated. Remember? So when you're eliminating a clause, you know, okay, I've eliminated a description, a detailed description. When you are eliminating from here, you know you've eliminated a possibility. So you can think of it like this. So as I see it, the web that I would draw, the diagram that I would draw is, it says that the technique was simple. Okay, the technique was simple, but despite being simple. So if I say the technique was simple, but what do you think I'm going to say? If I say my lecture is, the point that I'm making to you is very simple, but what do you think I'm going to say? But effective? No. If I say it's simple, exactly. If I say it's simple, but, well, it helps you a lot, right? So here it says that the technique is simple, but you're going to say that, you know what, it did something great. And it says, but this new type of activism, but this new kind of activism galvanized something, then did something else, and generated this thing amongst the many new segments of the populace. So this is what's happening here. Okay, so we understand from this first paragraph, now we know that it did three things according to this passage. First, it says, now when you have this kind of a structure, do you think this makes it easier for you to understand these things? This is not the same. This is not the same as reading as that Mohan, who plays basketball. That's different. This is like Mohan likes to play basketball, football, cricket, and rugby. In my head, it's important that Mohan likes to play. What does he play? Maybe. I'm putting it in a different bracket in my head, and that matters. So I'm just illustrating that to you. I know I'm dragging it longer than I need to, but this is the method. Okay. Now, This activism galvanized established civil rights organizations. That means if there was something that was established, there was a civil rights organization, there's a new activist, there's a new kind of activism. This new activism did something. Galvanized means it did something. Na? It did something to established civil rights organization. That means there were some old ones. The new one did something to the old ones. All of you understand this point? Agree? The new one did something to the old one. Agree? Okay. Then it brought about new ones. Oh, okay. And generated support for the movements. Do you realize how clear this has become so suddenly? So what we say is the students, let me erase this. Let me erase everything from here now. So what we realize is that in the 1960s was born, new, born. See, now all of this becomes so simple. There's the new and there's the old. In 1960s, there's something was born. It was called the student sit-in. Okay, the students sit in technique. What is the technique? We'll look at it later on. It was a simple technique, but what this did was it did something to the old civil rights organizations. It changed them. So when I say galvanized, now by this movement, I get an idea. Oh, it maybe modernized the old civil rights organizations, or it maybe incited them, or it motivated them. It can't be a bad thing. You know, it kind of activated them. Let me just replace galvanization by activation. Okay. Strengthened, whatever. Yes, it's on that line. Polished. We all get that. And don't write only to me, write to everyone. Let me not. You should don't write only to me. It's pointless. Okay. Now, and don't write need pointless things to me either. Please. Only stick to this question. It also says that there were new ones. And then it says the third thing was that it generated support for the civil rights movement. So now we know as to what this movement did. This movement did a lot of things for us. Now we get to the question of what might we expect after this, because so we know that there was racial segregation that was initially addressed, and for this we have not paid attention to what the technique was. Let's look at that technique. It says African Americans occupying white seats, white only seats in racially segregated establishments. So what they did was there were some seats on which only whites would sit. Now African Americans started sitting on them. This was the technique of the sit-in, the student sit-in technique. This was what it was. Okay. And this helped in many ways. What is my anticipation? My anticipation is that they will talk about new things that happened, maybe. Let's go and see as to what that is. It's providing details. Okay. Initiated by 4 students of this college that I do not need to know the name of, right? Immediately ignore what the name of this college is. You realize this? Right now, I will read it out to you, but train yourself. Ignore. You don't need to know the name of this college. The first sit-in occurred at a lunch counter in February 1960. Sit-ins then spread rapidly through southern United States. You don't need to know the map. Involving over 70,000 participants by August 1961. Let me tell you, the date also won't matter so much, except to know that, obviously this has gone after February. The sit-ins provided an important model for non-violent protest and showed students that they could affect the political process. Okay. The influence, so you'd like a pointer. The influence of these demonstrations on the determination of the student activists was particularly visible in 2 events, the formation of something and the birth of something. You can immediately realize that there's a length of a sentence. As soon as it becomes longer than something, we cannot comprehend it in one go. Do you realize this? That this had suddenly started to breach that boundary. There's one boundary within which if it's there, I can comprehend. If it gets longer, I know I need to pause it. Did you realize this thing, that this sentence went slightly beyond that limit? Right? So when you know you're getting to one such thing, immediately stop looking at the details. So you know what I did? I immediately distanced myself from it. I don't know if you see it. When it's a small sentence, I know I can look into it and, I understand. When it becomes slightly, don't ask me questions that are very peculiar to yourself. It's not how I would like this to be going. I cannot read a question like that. For the time being, just stick to what I'm saying. I'll take your questions later on. Here, what I did was I focused on the structure instead. What I saw here is that it showed students, what students, you can do something. It showed that they could affect it. And then it goes on to say that it was particularly visible in two things, A and B. You get the point? And I don't need to focus on details, because if I had been focusing on details, then I lose track of structure. And in the LSAT, you need structure more than details. So what I summarize from here to look at my comprehension, and I won't even look at this right now, is that it started off with 4 people at some lunch or some cafeteria, and then it goes on and becomes 70,000 people. And then students realized, oh my God, I can do something. And what the students could do was seen in 2 events, A and B. Let me just quickly have a look at what A and B were. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. You should not waste time in trying to make sense of Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee. This is not things that you should pay attention to. The second, and the birth of a second form of sit-in called freedom rides. We saw freedom rides in the end, and we see it again. So we realize that the freedom rides has to be something that avoid suggestions, needless suggestions to me, please. And we realize that this is something that is significant at the end, and it will be adding to something apart from racial. You see, when we saw at the end, it said there that it was something that very comprehensively changed. You see, it took it to a new level, right? Here we saw that initially they were only talking about racial segregation, but then it had to go higher. And then we saw that this freedom rides helped take it to another level. So we realize here that what started off as maybe just the students doing sit-ins grew in number, and then you saw it particularly enlarge by means of a certain, no, where am I? Yeah, we saw that it enlarged to a non-violent coordination committee, and then we saw the birth of a second form of sit-ins. So freedom rides, we now know, is the second kind of sit-ins. Now, what might I anticipate after this? I don't know, but then I kind of look forward to it, and I think this is a good time to go ahead. Right? This isn't really something that evokes that kind of interest, but then we can have a look. Let's see. So we have 2 kinds of sit-ins. Okay, let's see what happens. Now, let's have a look at our third paragraph. The formation of the committee followed by the first sit-in. You see, now you realize, that more than assimilating the meaning of this Student Nonviolent Coordination Committee, it takes time to assimilate the meaning of this. Instead, it is important for you to know that 2 things happened. That there was a second kind of sit-in that came from here, followed the first sit-in. So you see, the passage looks simple. You might be thinking, oh, this is a simple passage. But really, any passage that you read in such detail becomes simple immediately, because you are ignoring what is difficult. The formation of this followed the first sit-in by just a few months, and not only solidified student involvement in But also, so it's telling you that two things happened. It says that this student committee and followed the first sit-in by just a few months. It's saying that the first sit-in happened, maybe that was February 1960. You don't need to know it. I'm just saying it for this case. So February 1960 was perhaps the first sit-in, and the committee was formed in just a few months. Okay. And then it says it not only did this, but did this. So it's basically telling you that it did two things. So what did it do? First, it solidified student involvement. Okay. Increased the student involvement. In my head, I'm writing it here, but this is all happening mentally. It's not a lot, right? And it's in short-term memory. You just forget it once you're done with this question. But also place students as leadership. Oh, it increased their involvement and also put students as leaders. Okay. It operated independently of other civil rights organizations and relied on strong local leadership, helping to transform student involvement from participation in small-scale protests into a sustained effort to challenge discrimination throughout the US. This, what you see here, is a description of what happened here. So I say I did something. So I donated 50 rupees to this organization, helping them to provide food to the needy. It's describing it later on. When I want to understand the meaning of this, I can first concentrate on one part, get the meaning from there, and then look at the second part. You guys agree? So it says here that it operated independently of other civil rights organizations and relied on local leadership. It's an important point, which means you have understood a couple of things about the leadership of this movement. The first thing is that you had leaders who were local, which means they were not far away. They were not from another place. The second thing was that you had leaders who were students, right? So you had student leadership and you had local leadership. And then let's see what it did. What it did is what you see here, helping to transform student involvement from participation in small-scale protests into a sustained effort to challenge discrimination throughout the US. What that said is that now with the changed leadership, Sanya, you're not entitled to distract the whole class like this, right? When I've said that questions relating to YouTube and all I will answer later on, you should not be as impolite as to disturb the others because I get distracted by it. I have the chat open in the side because I need to look at what you guys are saying. Please. Okay. We are saying here that it helped to transform. What is the meaning of transformation? It means it was something first and then it became something else. You should remember the meaning of transform, you know. It implies that it tells you what it was before, right? So it tells you the significance of a movement because a movement basically wishes to bring about a change. So what it says here, as I understand this, is that you had now the movement has student and local leaders. So now students were earlier involved in small scale. It is transformed to become large. It's your life, make it large. Students have made it large. That's what this kind of looks like to me. I don't need to carry much more information than this. Okay, I don't need to think of this as a sustained effort to challenge discrimination throughout the US. It was small, it was transformed to something large, summarized in my head, I proceed. I hope you understand what I'm doing with you here is I'm telling you how little I retain. Do you get the point? I'm trying to retain just a little bit with me. I don't need to have a lot. Okay. But the development that marked the clearest turning point. Okay. So what it is trying to say here that until now, these were important, but the clearest turning point is now the freedom rides. So you see, it told you here that you had two things. Here we saw that student activists did two things. One was this committee. The second one was the freedom rides. It first spoke here about the student committee and what that committee did. Here it talks about the freedom rides, telling you that freedom rides is pretty much the most significant thing. You already know it. Okay. But the development that marked this clear turning point for the civil right was the freedom rides. The goal of the rides, which were organized in 1961 by you see, what's happening here is extra details, which I'm reluctant to take. So when I'm reading it, it's like, I read the goal of the rights, and then the moment I see this, which I just do, and I look at the next part here. It's not about taking the pen and highlighting. It's about how you will take your eyes. You will quickly take your eyes across this. If your eyes remain on this, you will have to again restart from here, because there's a limit to how much we can go ahead. Okay. Abhay, we will resist the temptation for the time being. Even I felt that temptation. Can we read the questions and come back? Avoid that. If the passage is very difficult, let me tell you, since Abhay has asked this question now, if the passage is very difficult, then you might consider looking at the questions once. But invariably, the passage is difficult because you're not reading it properly, because there's no such thing as a difficult passage. The difficult part in the passage is to be methodically eliminated. If you're finding a passage difficult, it means you're reading needless difficult things. So if you ask me about when you should read the passage, whether you should read the passage first or the questions first, different people will tell you different things. Suppose there's a passage, okay, and the passage has 7 questions. If you read the questions first, you're going to retain nothing of it, and it will take you like what, at least a minute to look at 7 questions and to make some sense of it. I would say if the questions are numerous, don't look at the questions, because if there are numerous questions, something will be asked from here, something will be asked from here, something from here, something from here, something from here, which basically means it will require you to know the whole passage. However, if questions are fewer and if the passage is long, so let's think of it like this. If you have a short passage, okay, then I think and you have numerous questions, it becomes clear that, well, just read this passage. Every question can be done from here. If you have a long passage and only 2 questions, or maybe 3 questions, or even 4, you could consider looking at the questions here. Do you guys understand the logic of this? If there's a long passage and a few questions, you come to know what is important in it. If there's a small passage and 7 questions from there, you pretty much know that you have to read the whole thing. Now, this is a kind of smaller passage already. This is a small passage. After this, we have just 1 paragraph. Okay. Since we don't have, after superficially reading the passage, you can do that. Like I said, as far as the method goes, whether to do this first or that first, that is not set in stone. I can tell you what not to do. What you should not do is, if you're skimming, don't let your skimming process take more than 40 seconds in total. Because if you spend 1.5 minutes in skimming, that's not skimming. Skimming is you just looked at it like this, and came back. You looked at the questions in 10 seconds and came back, it won't hurt you. But if you look at the questions and try to make some sense of it for a minute, or you spend even 45 seconds, that's bad. Reserve 40 seconds for skimming. Look at whatever you want to in that. Makes sense? If you want to look at the questions, do that. Because you know what? Like I say, when I'm browsing the internet, sometimes something that I don't want to see comes up there. I'm like, oh, that's got stuck in my head, that's the power of 1 second. So if you are harnessing that power, look at whatever you want to. But if you are getting into it, then every type of skimming is bad. But generally, if you look at a long passage and a few questions, it will help to look at the questions. No, don't avoid skimming. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying don't confuse skimming with reading. If you're skimming, skim and do it in 40 seconds. If you're doing it for a minute, that's not skimming, that's reading. And I do not recommend reading the questions. Some people read the questions. One thing that you surely should not do is don't read the options within the questions, right? One thing I can tell you, well, I'll tell you what not to do. Don't read the ABCD within this. You can read these. You can read these, but don't read the ABCDE between this. First thing, don't do. Second thing, don't read this in detail. Just look at them. When you look at them, when I look at this page for 3 seconds, I can see around 20 words in it immediately. Just take those words and leave. Make sense to all of you guys? Skimming has to be done like skimming for it to be useful to you. Okay? Right. Let's proceed with this. I know even I was getting impatient with this passage. I want to let's go look at the questions. But we should not do that. Advait, if you're making summaries, the summary is not, you're not making it, it happens. You just do that. Like I said, when I'm looking at this here now, for example, the goal of the rides, let's get back here. Let's get back. All of you, calm down. Now, don't ask me anything else. Don't provide me any suggestions, please. And no questions about anything else. There is, Ishita, there's no need to get scared at the timer. The worst that happens is that we don't solve the question. That happened with me yesterday, right? I was here, I was staring at that thing, I couldn't do it. And if I can't do it, I can't do it. What happens is that we don't clear the exam. Then we think about it a little further. If you don't clear the exam, maybe you don't get a seat. If you don't get a seat, you don't go into that college. If you don't go into that college, it doesn't matter. And I'm not even, this is not something that I'm saying to pacify you at the superficial level. That's the truth. When you realize that nothing matters, you can do it better. Okay. Muskan, if you get kicked out of the house also, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's not take it that far. Okay. Life kharab nahi hoti bhai. Parth, life does not kharab. You have to be, you've got to learn. If you turn on the heat on yourselves, if you turn on the heat on yourselves when the thing is going on, it will harm you. Akshat, I'm aware of what I'm supposed to do here. Okay. When I look at this, now calm down. Yeah, Prakash, you're right. Calm down. I skim through this. So when I start from here, the goal of the rides was to challenge the segregation through the occupation of white only seats on interstate buses and in facilities at various terminals at which the buses stopped. Again, when you're reading this, I immediately get the point here. The goal of the rides was to do something with buses. Zoya, no unnecessary questions, please. Do you think I can answer your question? Or if you think I cannot answer your question, now don't ask it. Here, we got some hint about this word rides. What rides is it talking about? What rides is it talking about? Earlier, I was like, rides. Now we know it's a bus ride. You see, rings a bell. And it happens when you just read it like this. If you get into it, you will not realize this, that this is referring to bus rides. So therefore, always maintain this 1 arm distance from the passage. Okay. Also, if you see, it was to occupy seats on interstate buses and somewhere else and at the various terminals where the buses stopped. You don't need to so much bother about this part here, you know, and at the terminals. So I'd occupy in the bus and at the ISBT. I don't need to bother about that. Okay. So we kind of understand that first it talks about the student committee, then it talks about the freedom rides, those being a clearest turning point. It tells you as to what it is. It says that they decided that they'll occupy the white-only seats in buses. These people did it in, this was done by students. Where did they do it? They did it in lunch places and other places, okay. It says because the rides inspired violent reprisals in some regions, the US government began using force to protect the safety of. How can that be an end of a paragraph? Just a moment. Huh? How can that be the end of a paragraph? No, it was not. Okay. So I need to get this back in here. Okay. So we've kind of understood what has happened until here. Here, we realize because the raids inspired violent reprisals. Now you don't need to understand the meaning of this word either. Okay, in some regions, what do you think a reprisal would be? Let's think of it as an upheaval, a reaction, a protest or whatever. You don't need to bother about it. Okay. The US government began using force to protect the safety of the freedom riders. Okay. This was the first government action taken explicitly in support of the cause of desegregation outside the public schools. Okay. You realize? So what we said was what started off as maybe something that happened in some lunch in February 1960 eventually grew. It had 70,000 people. You had something called a student committee. The student committee allowed for student leadership, and it transformed students who were kind of small scale. It brought them into a large scale thing. The other thing that happened was the freedom rides. The freedom rides was an important turning point. They occupied the buses. What happened is that when you occupy the buses, it becomes uh, something that became violent. When it became violent, there was the need for governmental action. And for the first time, what started off by students through a new technique called sit-ins, it was independent. If you notice this word here, let me just show you. If you realize there was the word independent that you saw before that. I don't remember where it was, but it said it was an independent thing initially. Okay. But the independent thing started to get the support of the government. And that is when it became more important. Okay. So let's see. The freedom rights thus helped take the civil rights movement to a new level. How was it taken by a new level? It was taken to a new level because the government had to intervene in this by underscoring to the US government and to the US society generally. So I didn't know the meaning of underscoring. Now I know. Underscoring becomes like underlining. See, we are highlighting and showing you this. The harsh realities of the segregation system, and by providing for students and elders alike. You know what? Again, a sentence like that, providing for students and elders alike, just remove it. You can ignore this, but I think you're getting better at this already, so I don't need to show you. But and by providing, even if you remove this, I hope you can see, by providing examples of the methods they might use to achieve a more equal society. Do you realize you can remove students, adults, and students alike? You could remove that. Yeah. What I said was that we can see here the significance of the freedom riders. You know what they did? It did two things. It did this by doing something. And you see now, if you're asked as to what the contribution of this thing was, I hope you can see the structure. It says here that the freedom rides helped take it to a new level. Okay. By first doing something here. and by doing something else here. The freedom rides helped by first doing something here and then by doing something else here. Can you see this? Can you guys see the structure? Right? Here, there is one more thing in here between, that it helped the US government and the society generally. Like if I say I helped, maybe I helped Sarthak and students generally. I can either say students or I can say Sarthak, the essence of the statement remains the same. So when you're looking at a statement like this, and when you're not in your sharpest, like yesterday I was not sharp, right? And that can happen to us on any given day. At that point, what saves us? Strategy. Yesterday I kind of still know that, okay, even if I'm not my best, I at least have some technique to save me. So what I do is I try to start shortening it. I play my game hard. So what I do is I first remove this. Then I remove this. Then I make the map. It says the freedom rides help to take civil rights to a new level by, okay, underscoring to the US government the harsh realities of the segregation system, one, and by providing examples of the methods that they might use. So you see, the significance of the freedom rides is not confined to freedom rides alone. Freedom rides helped us show that, hey, see, let me show you, it's underlining. Let's look at what's happened. Second, hey, this is one method, you can use more. Today we occupied a bus, tomorrow you can occupy something else. My anticipation is that there will be a question relating to what kind of contribution did the freedom rides have. I think we kind of can think about what the questions would be. Let's have a look at the questions now. Do you guys feel that you've comprehended this passage well? We've taken some time, but there is comprehension. Yes. Let's go and have a look at the passage. This was prep test 3. Okay. According to the outlawing of the segregation in public schools in 1954 had which one of the following consequences? Don't look at these options. Don't look at the options. If you look at the options, you'll get it wrong. You tell me, what was the consequence of the outlawing of public schools? The racial discrimination outlawing. That's what had happened first, because we remember that the outlawing was confined only to racial. But what was the consequence? Good Chakra. We realized that it kind of led something broader to happen. Okay. Now, there is a location of things that were given in the passage. When you look at the options now, you will realize that every option is right. But not every option is the right answer to this question. You know what? It galvanized the US civil rights organizations and immediately, yeah, something like that did happen. It led directly to the formation. Yeah, that also happened. It served to encourage yeah, that happened as well. It provided an example. Oh yeah, it gave an example. That's what we saw in the end. Now, this is where you realize that if you start looking at the questions without looking at what you've done earlier, you will have a problem. Let's go back to what we just realized when we paid attention to this point. When we saw here, although it was this, but it furthered the anticipation of broader changes. That is something that's very obvious. But as you read the remainder of the passage, you can get disillusioned by this and you can go astray. So I would go with B, right? Let's look at question number 2. The third paragraph provides information to help answer each of the following questions except. Let's just take one look at the third paragraph. What is the third paragraph? The third paragraph was, the entire third paragraph. This was the third paragraph, right? This whole thing is the third paragraph. We roughly know what that was. So let's just look at the question. Are you guys with me? Are you guys with me? Okay. Now, before we go and look at these, again, I say, take a moment, but not too long, because this is a question about what except. Just take a moment to think as to what it didn't do. Okay. And with just that one thought, now we proceed to the questions. Don't mindlessly read this and immediately jump to the options. Exercise restraint. I hope, do you get my point? There was a temptation even I had at this point to jump to the options. Don't jump. Take that 1 second to assimilate what the question is asking of you. It tells you this except. Understanding except is not easy. It tells you which of these is not answered by the passage. Okay, let's see. Can I answer question number A? Can I answer A? Can I answer B? Can I answer C? Can I answer D? Let's see what happens. Can I answer A? How did the student non-violent this thing change the scale? I would say that at this point, let me just put it as yes, it answers. How did the actions of the student affect the development of human rights? It does not answer this, according to me, because you can see that there were two independent things. Do you realize how important the segregation was? Maybe I'm wrong, but let's go ahead and see. What events led to this? Yes, of course, it did tell us that the freedom rights told us this. What is the significance of US government's protection and participation? Of course, it tells us the importance of that, because once the government came in, it became even larger, as you can see. Because the US government, and this was a government support, okay? So what is the significance of the government's protection? It made it much larger. It took it to a new level. You see, it took it to a new level. So it tells us that this protection involved the government. So this becomes pretty clear that this is the answer. Yeah, this is the answer. B is the answer to this. Do you realize how little time it takes once you've read the questions properly? Once you've read the passage properly? There is no need for you to shuttle between the passage and the questions if you have read the passage well. Spend some time there. Your questions here will go quick. Let's pick the other questions. Look at question number 3. If we had not read the passage properly, on YouTube, bacha, I'll be putting everything on YouTube. One day I didn't put it on YouTube because I didn't record it by mistake. And for that, I've put up lessons. When you end this class, you'll go and see them there. For the time being, please focus on the class. इधर-उधर की बातें मत करो. Okay. अच्छा, once more वाला जो है वो YouTube पे आ जाएगा. Once more I'll not do. It was very simple. Anirudh, just pay attention to the question now. Okay. You see, which one of the following most completely and accurately describes the organization of the passage? What is the meaning of completely and accurately? If they had simply asked only accurately, exactly. You know what? You ask me, you tell me 5 things. And you say, Ankit, tell me back those 5. Like today, let's say I teach you something. And then I say, Abhivyakti, tell me what I told you. You say, sir, you said this. My answer will be, correct. You're right. But was it comprehensive? Did you tell me everything? No. You need to not only answer what you say correctly, but also do it completely. When you talk about mistakes, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Calm down. There are two kinds of mistakes, or there are two kinds of errors. Shant ho jao bhai. There are two kinds of errors. The first is what we refer to as the errors of commission, where you commit an error. कहते हैं ना, I committed an error. That's one kind of error. The other error is the error of omission, where you omit something. Get the point? When you say, tell me something that's both complete and accurate. Accurate means commit no errors. Complete means omit no point. You need to tell me everything and tell me correctly. Do you know what this requires of you? This requires of you to have read the passage extremely well. Did you feel that this passage was easy, guys? Let me know in the comments. Did you feel that this passage was easy? Easier than some of the things? Was it shorter than usual? Was it shorter than usual? Yes. When the passage is easy looking, the questions will be very hard. When the passage is easy, the question will be hard. When there's a big scientific looking passage, remember, the questions will not test you on your complete comprehension of the passage. You see, we are studying social science, right? When we are looking at law, you are expected to kind of be okay with understanding civil rights and social science, okay? So we wouldn't ordinarily consider this tough. So they expect a greater level of comprehension from you when the passage is simple looking. Do you realize that this question basically is saying that you should know the whole passage in your head? Do you realize this? Do you guys realize this? This question requires you to know it. And you will never find a question like this for a tough passage. Therefore, don't get complacent when you see an easy passage. Now, some of you might have thought, hey, why are you taking so long on this passage? Read it quick now. No. If I had gone quick, I would have seen this question and I have only one choice. Let me tell you something, if a time-saving strategy. If you see a question like this in the exam and you want to save time, you know what you're supposed to do this question? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You like mo, just put this and go. No, don't leave. Put your lucky number and leave. Okay, this is not, there's no negative marking here. But since we're solving the question here, let's do it. Otherwise, this is a very tough question. Perhaps you can avoid a question like this in the exam. Don't give it much thought. Just quickly pick one and get it right. Okay. Now let's look at it here. Let's start with, no, let's first try to see what we remember of it. Because if you start looking at the options, do you realize that you're not supposed to read these options? Okay, calm down. Listen to what I'm saying. Make sure you're listening. Get me from the market, get me sugar and spices. No, bad example. Suppose I say there's a recipe, first add potatoes, then add oil, then stir it for 5 minutes, then add this, then add this. This is like that, okay? And if you ask me, next thing, I described a thing to you, now the passage is here. Suppose I see that something starts with oil. I'm like, oh, you're wrong. Suppose I see something where oil is before potato. Oh, that's also wrong. If I see that there's no salt, that is also wrong. So this is a very mathematical thing. I hope you understand this thing, that you have a certain sequence with which things happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you find that any one thing is wrong in here, that means if you find an error of commission, that means you find some mistake in here. One mistake, remove. So first you look for errors of commission. If you can find even one error in any one thing, remove it. Do not try to read something such as this in such great detail. If you remember some time back, I told you, if the passage is difficult, questions will be easy. If the passage looks easy, questions will be difficult. Let me again tell you, if the question is as difficult as this, the options will be easy. You guys understand what I'm trying to say? They are not going to expect you to read this much. You see, you say, oh my God, you give me this question and you give me 1 mark for this question. You give me this question also for 1 mark. Don't get confused by the volume of this. Do I make sense to you guys? What I mean to say is that in this, don't be bogged down by how large this looks. This is like a large balloon that you have to go and deflate like this, okay? You're trying to see, oh, you're wrong because you have this. Burst, 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 right? So if we need to know that when something is as large as this, we're not trying to comprehend the whole thing. We're looking for errors in it. That's my mindset before that. And depending on how much time I have, I will try to make a map once again in my head. Now you can make this map here. I would draw it for you, or you just go back and quickly look at it and come back once. It's like, let's just have a quick look. What happened here? Okay, something like, take 20 seconds, all of you, of 10 seconds to read this thing. Let me remove the clutter from this 1 second. Let me remove all of these ink marks. And then you can take 10 seconds to read it, because you shouldn't do more than that, to be ready for that question, okay? You guys can see the screen, right? Take 10 seconds. I'm counting. Do you realize if you get into it, the 10 seconds don't help you? Did you realize that you are not able to utilize 10 seconds? But if for 1 second something comes on the internet that goes and hits your eyes, like, I don't want it. So again, look at the first paragraph, look at the second paragraph, look at the third paragraph, and ignore the rest. What is the first paragraph? It said something new happened. Second paragraph tells you that, this new thing started off from a small scale. It gave rise to 2 things. What does the third paragraph do? It describes the first thing, the second thing, and tells you how it became large. That's how much I will keep with me. And let's now go and look at the question. If you start reading the passage again here, you're wasting time. Like I said, skimming is allowed, but only if you give it as much as is due. If you give it more time than what it deserves, that's not skimming, that's reading. And if you read after having read, what confidence do you have on yourself? That cannot be the way you're approaching it. Okay. So let's now see whether we see errors in any. Let's start with option A. The historical backdrop for protest technique is presented. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to see if there is a blatant mistake in any of these. There are 5 ingredients. Let's say I taught you how to make aloo ki sabzi. In that, somebody writes sugar. I'm like, oh, sugar? Are you crazy? There cannot be sugar in this. And I cut it off. So I'm trying to look for whether somebody has put some sugar in this curry. Agree? It's like I'm looking for the eggs or the meat in a vegetarian food. Agree? That's how I'm going to eliminate these options. Suppose I do that at the first level. And if I'm unable to eliminate anything, then I'm like, oh, I need to look at it more closely. But if I make the mistake of looking at it closely from the beginning, this question will take me at least 5 minutes, which I don't have. Okay. So I look for, where's the sugar in this savory? Where's the sugar in the curry? Where's the eggs in the vegetarian food? Okay. The technique is described and some consequences are listed. 2 alternative methods of applying the technique are spelled out. And the consequences of each are discussed in turn. In my first reading, I don't know whether I can eliminate this. Let me move to the next. Not eliminated yet. Suno bhai, dhyan karo. A historical movement is identified and some consequences are listed. Now, in terms of the sequence, first time I'm just seeing if there's something wrong. 2 groups within the movement are mentioned. Roles are contrasted. The roles are not contrasted. The rules are described. So I will eliminate this. Agree? They have not contrasted them. They just described it. They did this and they did this. They did more. That's not a contrast. They did the similar things. A historical moment, the influence of the groups is briefly mentioned. The long range historical consequences of the movement in general are discussed. I don't understand this. Let me go to the next one. The historical backdrop of protest is presented. The technique and its ramifications are described. The techniques early use is briefly discussed. This looks so beautiful. You realize this? Unless there's something that's not complete in these, right? This looks good. Remember that this looks good. But it's like my asking, let's say if I ask one of you that, hey, tell me, what did I teach you? You said, sir, today you taught us reading comprehension. Yes, you are right. But have I said everything? So now what I look for is there something that is more comprehensive than this? Okay. I try to see if there's something that's identifying. You see, this is good in the sense that there is nothing seemingly wrong in this. Okay, the technique and its ramifications. You say that, you know what, it's not just this, it's more. Ramification means consequences. If you don't know it, don't worry. The technique's early use is briefly outlined, the two outgrowths and the impacts of both of these. Okay, this looks good, but is there something that has more detail? Let me look at this here. So we've eliminated this. Let's look at this once again. The historical background, the technique is described and some of its consequences are listed. The consequences were listed not in the first paragraph. Well, it says that it paved the way, but let's see. Let's look at it a little more closely before we eliminate it. We are quite sure in the exam I would have just gone for this now, but I'm spending a few more seconds where there's a temptation to leave the question and go ahead and then end up getting the question wrong. So we're also learning to curb and tame that temptation. That's what I'm doing here. I hope you get the point. We have to tame ourselves as well, because when we don't exercise restraint and we let our intuition flow, we get questions wrong. You guys understand what I'm trying to say? I'm carrying out an important exercise here. I'm taming myself. Okay. So let's stick to this. The historical backdrop of a protest is presented. Yeah, that's what is there everywhere. So that's not the point that we're looking at. Two alternative methods of applying the technique are spelled out. The historical impact of the technique is assessed. No, they didn't assess the historical impact of it, or did they? Can I call that a historical an assessment? Yes, it did. The impact of it is assessed. So that's the historical impact of the technique is assessed. Let's see. When I say the impact is discussed and when we say the historical impact is discussed, this one contains this one. This is a safer option as of now. I am not convinced that I can eliminate this. Let me look at C once again. I'm not fully convinced. A historical movement is identified and its impact is described in detail. No, its impact is described briefly in the beginning. You get the point? You guys are paying attention? Now don't think of why I'm sticking to this problem for so long. Stick on what I'm asking you to say. In the beginning, it says, you know what, it started off here, but it became much larger. It was described briefly. Here it's saying described in detail. I'm sure this is not there. That means as of now, we have two options, either this or this. Let's look at the two once again. Presented. You realize this part is the same. This is like Sonu and Monu. You're looking at Sonu and Monu and you decide which one, who is your brother or who is the culprit. There are two twins. Okay. So their eyes are the same. Let's look at where they're different. The technique is described and some of its consequences are listed. The technique and its ramifications are described. Consequences or ramifications. Do you realize that if we can identify the difference between consequences and ramifications, we will get our possible answer here? Following? Do you realize that A is not as pathetic as an option as you might have initially felt? You realize that as well? You agree? A is not as bad as you felt initially it was. We have to resist that temptation, okay? But I don't know the meaning of ramification. So let's go ahead. We might find something else. Arnav, like I said, if I rely on my understanding of the word ramification to solve this question, it means I've been cheating you. Because until now I told you that you don't need to know a tough word. Agree? If I use the meaning of the word ramification to solve this question, it means I was lying to you. So let me try to solve this question without looking at the difference between ramification and consequences. And Arnav, I think you said you don't know the meaning, so I'll ask you this thing later on as to what you might believe the difference is. Okay. Then I say two alternative methods of applying the technique are spelled out. The technique's use is briefly detailed. Yes, the technique is basically one of sit-in. You remember now, to remember when I asked you, what is the technique? The technique is sit-in. You guys with me? You guys with me? The technique is sit-in. There was a first sit-in and there was a second sit-in. The second sit-in was called the freedom rides. Remember? Before the two alternative methods were spelt out, there was a brief mention of its use first. And therefore, on the basis of this, I will very convincingly, I'm very convinced, and with conviction, I will choose D because they have missed out one important event here. If you look at in terms of complete and accurate. First point, same. Second point is the difference between consequence and ramification, but I am a guy with poor English, so but LSAT doesn't require me to know English, so I look at the third point. Third point here is two alternative methods. Here you find two alternative methods. Baba, listen to me. Sankalp, Asatak, I know that's not the point about what you marked. This is a 1 minute question, of course, but we are looking at the other things. We are here to see and how to confirm our answer so that, we don't go with some doubt. Okay. Technique. Oh, that's what you meant. That eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You see, luck, fortune also favors us. Okay. Do you realize here? Just pay attention for another 2 seconds here, guys. I can see that your attention is going off. Gather your attention back. I'm telling you how to compare this. Gather your attention back. Here it's saying two alternatives. Here it's talking about two outgrowths. They are not alternatives, they're outgrowths. There are two offshoots. If I don't know, I think I even used that word here, when I'm saying here, two. Do you realize here when I'm saying the significance of seeing this A, B, the significance of these things that I do here? Do you see how important these things are? Right? That I don't get into the do you realize the details of this US society of whites only, of whatever I ignore has never been asked. What they ask is this structure. You guys realize it? Even if you can understand it, don't waste your time on understanding it. Just skim through anything that is not related to structure. This is the nature of this exam. If you engage in detail, you will miss out on structure. So you see, if you just look at the notes that I make here, the notes are all diagrams, nothing apart from diagrams. Okay. So here, pay attention for another 20 seconds, then we've done with this question. It says two alternative methods. Here it says two outgrowths. You don't want to use your mind enough to think of the difference between alternative and outgrowths. But just see, this is point number 1 here, point number 2, point number 3. Like I said, first potato, then oil, then onion, then sugar, salt. Here it is point number 4. I said you must not omit anything. You must not omit anything. Agree? No omission. Agree? If this is point number 4 here and this is point number 3 here, clearly there is an omission here. Now I only need to see, is that omission a correct omission or a wrong omission? Agree? Agree or not? So now I'm seeing here that is this third point here, is it correct? Yes, it is correct. So I will mark D. Now when I go from here, I'm pretty confident that D is the right answer. Okay. Okay. Let's take our next question. And you see, this is a small passage and it has 7 questions. I didn't look at the number of questions earlier. Did you realize I said when there's a short passage, you will have many questions. If it's a long passage, you'll have fewer questions. See, it's very predictable. It's a very predictable exam. Now you see, this is a tiny, small question. It will require more attention. Did you realize we read nothing in this? Guys, did you realize that we read nothing in this long question? It took no time. I stayed on to confirm, but do you realize this took no time? Agree? Good. So don't get scared of the length of a question, and don't be elated if it's tiny. In fact, I'm happier with larger questions than smaller ones. Smaller ones require more attention. Let's look at this question now. Chota packet. Bada dhamaka. Okay. Based on the passage, which of the following can be most reasonably inferred? Let me tell you something about the word inferred. This is not the kind of word that you can say, I can say you don't need to know. This is a word that you need to know. What is an inference? Or what is it to infer? Manya, I like what you say. Yes, Arnav. Ojasvi, yes. Yes, Ananya. Yes, Shubhra. Good. Now, with regard to an inference, okay, calm down. With regard to an inference, one of the ways in which you can treat an inference is that it wouldn't be expressly mentioned, right? So if something is written here as such, if you find that in the option directly, that is unlikely to be an inference. Pay attention. It is not sure that it's not an inference. It's unlikely to be an inference because sometimes in the questions, inferences are also seen to be a little direct. Should I repeat what I just said? Should I repeat? I realized that I didn't say it properly. I said inference is something that is not written. That's what we understand as an inference. So what I infer is that you told me this, but from this I can get this. Like you told me this, and from here I can get this. This is an inference, which I drew from this. So what I said is, if this has been said in the passage, and in one of these options I find this directly here, that's not an inference. That's like the same thing, right? So if I say that something is here and I find that exact thing in the option, in most cases, you can reject that as not being an inference. In most cases. However, sometimes in inference questions, the direct thing may also be the answer. So if I'm to write that down, an inference is mostly, but not always, something that is not directly stated in the passage. Clear? Clear to everyone? Clear? Mostly, but not always, something that's not stated in the passage. I hope you've now understood the meaning of this very important word called inferred. So what I'll do is, in my first reading of it, I will see, hey, is this something that is directly taken from, is this a direct ripoff from the passage? If it's a direct ripoff, I'll put it in the red box. I'll not put it in green. But suppose I realize that all four have gone into the red box, then I will start looking at it more closely. Agree? Understood what I just said? Or should I repeat? Understood or repeat? Just let's write in the box. Understood or repeat? Understood or repeat? Okay. What I said is, okay, I'm repeating because some of you said repeat, na? So I'm repeating. What I said is, अरे बाबा मैं बता रहा हूँ अब सुन लो. I said that when I look at these in the first reading, I will apply this test. Let's say I look at option A and I say, oh, this is directly in the passage. How can this be an inference? Red, cross. Oh, option B. Oh, this is also directly in the cross. Option C. Hare, this is also directly. Option D. Oh, this is also direct. Now, what I do is I go back to the options if these have failed. But suppose when I was doing this, it turns out that one of these was not direct. It is very likely that this will be my answer. Now understood or repeat? If repeat, then you write repeat. If repeat, then repeat. If understood, say understood. It's a simple test. I'm repeating very briefly. Since an inference should not be direct, I'll first check, is it direct? Is it direct? Is it direct? Is it direct? Whatever is direct is not the answer. But suppose it turns out that everything is direct, then I will abandon this test. ये जो मैंने बोला कि inferred is not direct, I will chuck that test and then look at something else. Okay. I'll not repeat now. Now, if you are confused, just stay in the problem. You can solve LSAT without being fully clear about things in general, but you need to be specific about the question. Let's look at the question now. Which of the following can be inferred about the freedom rides? They were primarily a spontaneous phenomenon. Two difficult words. Let me drop this for the time being. They were directed against the US government? Absolutely not. In fact, the US government, in some way, ended up supporting it. They were based on a different philosophy? No. The original sit-in demonstrations were, hey, sit in the cafe, hey, sit in the classroom. Free rides is, hey, sit in the bus. Is there a different philosophy here? Is there a different philosophy? Philosophy is the same. They were modeled on original sit-in demonstrations? Yes. Were they or were they not? They were. But is this an inference? Was this stated somewhere in the passage? This is what I'm going to think about now. Therefore, I will go back to the option A once, just to be sure before I proceed. Calm down. Calm down. You know what? If it was so simple, I wouldn't spend time on it. Calm down. What is wrong is done. Don't, Abhi, calm down. Don't tell me anything that I'm not asking you. Calm down. These were modeled on original sit-in demonstrations. It looks like an inference to me because I do not see exactly this thing written there. And we did realize while we've been solving this question, you realize the 1 and 2, there is sit-in 1, sit-in 2. The second one, it's so important that you realize you got another sit-in. Okay. It looks like an inference to me at this point, but let me be very sure about this. Let me look at option A. Let me see if I can find something to the discredit of option A. They were primarily a spontaneous phenomenon. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to see if I can make sense of this without knowing the meaning of these words. Okay. The first thing I'll tell you, primarily, is a very, very judgment and value loaded word. If I say that humans are primarily thinking beings, I'm like, oh my God, Ankit knows so much about human beings. You understand what I'm trying to say? Agree? Primarily is a very value loaded word. It's like, hey, I know everything. This is primarily the reason for this. It's very high handed for an inference. Agree? When you're inferring something, it's not given in here, and you are saying, hey, you know what, this is primarily this thing. I'm like, oh my God, you're a smart guy. So it doesn't gel with what an inference should be. I don't need to know this. When I say it's primarily this, I'm like, oh, you're too smart for this question, and I stick with D. Did I make some sense to you guys? I don't want to answer any question based on the meaning of words. Spontaneous phenomenon might have frightened you. You don't need to know it. What you need to understand is words such as firstly, finally, exactly, primarily, only, must, except. These are the words that you should understand. Other words don't matter. If I've got this wrong, we'll see. But I think it's okay. Let's look at the next question in here. Let's just skip 5. Let's look at maybe 7. Okay, we just look at 7. You do the other 2 by yourself. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you, Arnav. Primarily, the word primarily which has been used there is like, you know what? What is the meaning of primarily? It's the most important. When I say that, this thing is primarily this, it's a very value loaded thing. It says you are primary and I am secondary and this is thirdly. So in an inference, it seems too loaded to be able to draw an inference like that. An inference is a little more modest, You guys agree what I'm trying to say? An inference is kind of modest. You won't, yeah. Okay, so let's look at the 7th question, and we can end the class today after checking the answers. Otherwise, it will get extended if the answers are wrong. Based on the passage, each of the following hypothetical activities is an example of the type of work that could reasonably be expected to be done by the student nonviolent coordinating committee, except. Before you look at the question is saying our student committee could do this, but not this. So we have to say that the student committee cannot do this. Okay. So let's kind of remind ourselves what the student committee did. The student committee was one of the 2 important things that showed the role of students. We realized that students realized that, oh, we are of some worth, particularly from 2 incidents. The first incident was this committee. The second thing was free rides. What did the committees do? The committees started to bring students into the forefront. Second, it started to get students as leaders. Third, this thing also allowed to have local leaders and it started to involve local leadership. Okay. We can also take the luxury in such a question to look back at the passage, because this is very fact-based. Can you see this is a very fact-based question? So we look back and see what the student committee did. And we know that what the student committee did was in the first half of the 3rd paragraph. The first half of the 3rd paragraph is where you come to know what happened here, right? Oh yeah, the word independently that I was saying, it worked independently. I'm like, these are important words that must stick in your head. I might have forgotten other words, but there might be a question. You never know, there might be one more question there that relates to this. You can go ahead and see. I won't do that with you. Here it says that they first sit in, solidified movement, operated independently, relied on this thing, transformed them from small scale to this. This is all we have here. Now we can go back to this question. It takes 1 second to look at it. You should not look at it for more than 3-4 seconds, unless you find very close options. If you look at close options, if you find close options, go back. Otherwise, never invest more than 3 to 4 seconds reading something. It will waste it, because you know what will happen? When you read something for a long time, this starts to happen. I start seeing these things like it was happening to me yesterday. Okay, so don't look at things for this long. Just look at it and come back. Okay. Otherwise, that question will put you to sleep and you're like, hey, I can't. That's why, you know what happens? You come out of it like this. So yesterday when I was looking at accept, I'm like, accept. Okay. So that's what you have to stay away from. You have to come back. Like, okay. All right. So you don't invest too much time. The mind is sharp. You know what's happening? When the mind is made to look at one thing for so long, it's like, please spare me the trouble. Why are you making me read one thing so many times? I've understood it. Let's proceed. So you need to give it a new game to latch onto. And you need to provide a technique whereby it doesn't have to stare at something for too long. Agree? Understand what I'm trying to say? If you compel the mind to stay on something for longer than it needs to, or if it stays on something without a sense of purpose, it will start to wander. Do I make sense? I make sense? So you need to create a false sense of purpose. And that's what the method is, first. Second, do not stay on it for longer than you need to. So when you go look at it, take the idea, get back to the question. If that is enough for you to solve the question, just solve the question and leave. Suppose you realize that there are two close options. Now you have a sense of purpose to go and read it in detail. Before I read this option, when I went and looked at that passage, did I have any sense of purpose? No. When I have no sense of purpose and I tell my mind to look at a problem that I've been seeing for the last 1.5 hours, my mind is going to tell me, go away from here. So I look at the problem. I look at an option. If the option demands that I read it again, my mind will accept that, okay, this guy needs to solve a problem. Let's look at it once again. So now let's look at the options. Remember that if this is happening to you, it is because you are reading without a sense of purpose. Okay. Coordination of a student march. Abhi, please don't say anything. Please, all of you calm down. All of you calm down. Coordination of a student march originating at a number of US college campuses and converging on the national capital. Tell me, can this happen? And tell me why. Can this happen and why? Can it happen and why? I want to see how well you've understood it. Quickly write to me. Siddharth, I don't like your reason. Next, quick. Vaibhav, yes, and why? Shruti. Don't write to me, write to everyone. Write to all attendees. Yes, Ishika, what does that mean? They're making leaders, I understand, but when you're saying a number of you, very good, Chakra. For me, this rings of last from going from small scale to large scale. You see, if it was one student doing it, that doesn't need a student coordinating committee. But what does the coordinating committee do? It says, hey, let's say this is, I don't know, the map of US looks something like this, I think. You say, hey, you are here and you're on this coast. Let's meet and converge here. So large scale. So I will accept A. Okay. Let's look at option B. Calm down. Maintenance of a national network of US student activists interested. Of course. Coordination, large scale, I will accept it. Training of student leaders from around the US in tactics to defeat discrimination that could be used. I accept this also. Now, as I realized that three options are okay, I realized that, oh, was I taking it too casually? Hey, you realize when I'm looking at three correct options, I get the fear that, hey, was I being too casual here? Maybe I was. I will go back to it. Okay, let's look at option 4. Having its leaders attend a national conference of US civil rights organizations in order to obtain approval of a plan for student activism. You realize the importance of the word independent? You see, you eventually get an I for the word independent. When you say independent, you don't want approvals. Banibat, you realize how significant that word was? So when you're reading a passage, you are not concerning yourself with student coordinating committee and all of these things. You're looking for a very different set of words. Have I been able to, over the course of these two passages, been able to explain to you what is important and what is not? Have you been able to understand that? Right? You need to have an eye for something. You can ignore a lot of things. The passage is not as long as it looks. The questions that look tough are not as daunting as they do. Things that look simple are not as obvious as they are. Right? So I think we need to check the damn answers. I believe that I was right. So we had 1B, 2B, 3 was D, 3D, and 4D, and 7D. That's a lot of Ds, huh? 7D, 4D, and 3D. And before that, we had 2 Bs. Okay. Let's look at the answers to this prep test.